There was a boy named Ethan who lived in a small rural village far away from the noise of the city, where the air smelled of soil and sweat and the days began with the sound of roosters and ended with the hum of crickets. He was the son of a farmer who owned just a few acres of dry land, and every season they prayed for rain, but sometimes the sky forgot them. Ethan would walk barefoot across the dusty paths, dreaming of something bigger than the fields he plowed. Each morning before the sun rose, his hands were rough, his clothes torn, yet his heart carried a strange fire. He wanted to study, he wanted to become a doctor, not for fame, but because he had seen his mother fall sick once with no doctor around for miles. The pain in her eyes became the reason he wanted to heal people. Every morning Ethan would carry his torn bag on his shoulder and walk 5 miles to the small village school. The walls were cracked, the benches broken, the blackboard faded, yet to Ethan it was a palace of dreams. He would listen to every word his teacher said, his eyes bright with hunger for knowledge. While other boys teased him for being poor, he smiled and kept writing, because deep inside he believed that someday he would wear the white coat of a doctor. But fate is never kind to those who dream big without fear. When his father fell ill, Ethan had to stop school for a year to work in the fields. He would dig the soil with tears in his eyes, watching the other boys go to school with clean uniforms. His nights were long, his heart restless. He studied under the dim light of a kerosene lamp, using old torn books his teacher had given him. Sometimes he would whisper to the stars, asking if they could hear his dream. Then one day a miracle happened. The village had announced a scholarship for poor students who scored high in exams. Ethan studied day and night. The villagers laughed, saying, "How could a farmer boy compete with city kids?" But Ethan's belief was stronger than their laughter. He wrote his exam with trembling hands and a hopeful heart. Weeks later a letter arrived. It was dusty and folded, but inside it said, "Congratulations, you have been selected for the scholarship." Ethan's mother cried, holding the letter to her chest as if it was gold. His father's tired eyes filled with pride. For the first time Ethan felt the world open before him. Leaving his village was the hardest thing he had ever done. He packed his few clothes in a small bag, kissed his mother's hands, and walked toward the bus that would take him to the city. The noise, the cars, the tall buildings, all felt like a dream. He stood before the gates of the medical university with awe, his name printed on the admission list. It was as if the years of struggle had shaped that single moment. His first class felt like stepping into another universe. The classrooms were wide and shining. The students wore neat uniforms and spoke fluent English. Ethan felt small and lost, yet his spirit whispered, "You belong here." He sat quietly at the back of the class until one day he met Sophia. She was bright, kind, and full of energy. Her laughter could light up the whole corridor. While everyone ignored Ethan, Sophia noticed him. She asked for his notes. She smiled when others mocked his accent, and slowly a friendship began. Sophia came from a rich family, but she never made Ethan feel small. She admired his intelligence, his honesty, his eyes that carried both pain and hope. They studied together late at night in the library. Ethan was shy at first, but Sophia's warmth broke every wall he had built around his heart. As the days passed, Ethan's life began to change. He started scoring top marks. The professors appreciated his dedication. Sophia would clap every time his name was called. He could not understand why she cared so much, but deep inside he knew his heart had already surrendered to her. Sometimes they would sit near the university garden, talking about dreams, about future, about the kind of doctors they wanted to become. Sophia wanted to serve children. Ethan wanted to help the poor. They both believed medicine was more than a profession. It was a promise to heal the world. One rainy evening, as they walked back from the library, Sophia slipped on the wet path. Ethan caught her, and for a brief second the world stood still. Her eyes met his, and he felt everything he had ever missed in life: the love he never received, the warmth he always dreamed of. That night he could not sleep. His heart was loud with feelings he could not name. Sophia too found herself thinking of the poor boy with a golden heart she had met in class. But love is never easy. Their worlds were far apart. Sophia's parents were influential people who wanted her to marry within their circle. When they heard about Ethan, they were furious. They called her naive. They said a poor village boy could never stand beside their daughter. Ethan heard the words and felt crushed. He tried to distance himself, thinking he was not worthy, but Sophia refused to give up. She met him secretly. She told him that love was not about money, but about souls that understood each other. Ethan wanted to believe her, yet fear held him back. One night, sitting under the streetlight outside the hostel, Ethan decided to prove himself. He promised to become the best doctor, not for pride, but to earn the right to stand beside the girl he loved. He buried himself in books. He studied harder than ever before. Sophia supported him with endless encouragement and faith. When the final exams came, Ethan topped the entire batch. His name appeared on the university board, once again written in golden letters, and this time Sophia's parents could not ignore the truth. The graduation day arrived, the hall filled with applause when Ethan received his medal. He looked at Sophia, who stood in the front row, her eyes shining with tears. They had made it together from the fields to the university, from struggle to success. They had turned pain into purpose and dreams into destiny. Ethan had finally completed the first chapter of his dream. His name echoed in the halls of the university as the boy who had risen from dust to glory, but deep inside, he knew this was just the beginning. The real world awaited beyond the gates, where knowledge met responsibility and passion faced reality. When the graduation ceremony ended, Sophia and Ethan stood side by side, watching the sunset, their hands brushing slightly like two souls whispering promises they could not yet speak aloud. Sophia smiled at him and said, "Our story is just starting, Ethan," her voice soft but filled with faith. Ethan nodded, because in that moment he believed her. They both got placed in the same hospital for internship, a large modern medical center in the city where life moved fast and every second carried weight. Ethan was nervous on his first day, wearing the white coat he had once dreamed of. He looked at his reflection in the mirror and saw not just himself, but every tear, every prayer, every sacrifice that had brought him there. Sophia walked in beside him, looking graceful, confident, yet gentle. She smiled and said, "Dr. Ethan, are you ready for this?" And he replied with a trembling yes, because deep inside he still felt like that barefoot boy from the village. Days turned into weeks. The hospital became their world. Patients came with stories of pain and hope, and Ethan poured his heart into every case. He worked tirelessly, sometimes through sleepless nights. Sophia was always there, assisting, supporting, smiling whenever he felt lost. They shared coffee during night shifts. They laughed in the corridors. And sometimes when exhaustion took over, they sat quietly on the hospital rooftop, staring at the stars. Ethan often told her about his village, about his parents, and how he wanted to build a clinic there someday. Sophia listened with admiration. She told him that one day she would go with him and serve those people too. But life has always had its tests. One evening, a major accident brought dozens of injured people to the hospital. Chaos filled the emergency ward. Doctors ran everywhere. Nurses shouted instructions. And in the middle of it, Ethan saw a young child bleeding heavily. He rushed forward, ignoring fear, his hands steady, his heart racing. Sophia joined him. Together they worked for hours, saving lives, until the last patient was stable. When it was over, Ethan sat on the floor, exhausted, his white coat stained with blood. Sophia knelt beside him and whispered, "You were amazing." He looked at her and, for the first time, said, "I could not have done it without you." That moment sealed something deeper between them, a love born not in comfort but in compassion. As months passed, Sophia's parents began to notice their closeness. They tried to convince her again, saying love cannot build a future without wealth, but Sophia stood firm. She told them that Ethan was her choice because he had something money could never buy, a heart that understood pain. Her father warned her that she would lose everything, but she replied that losing everything for true love was not a loss at all. Ethan heard about their anger and wanted to step back. He did not want to cause her pain, but Sophia found him at the hospital one night under the same rooftop where they used to sit. She told him, "If you walk away, I will lose my belief in love forever." Ethan felt the weight of her words, and for the first time he held her hand and said, "Then I will never walk away again." Their bond grew stronger through every storm they faced together. They completed their internships and received offers from different hospitals. Ethan wanted to stay near Sophia, but he also wanted to return to his village to fulfill his promise. He told her about his plan, and she looked at him with teary eyes, yet she smiled and said, "If your heart belongs there, I will come with you." And true to her words, Sophia left the comfort of the city and followed Ethan back to the dusty roads where his journey had begun. The villagers could hardly believe their eyes when Ethan returned as a doctor with a woman like Sophia by his side. They built a small clinic from the savings they had both earned the first day the clinic opened. People lined up outside from dawn till dusk. Ethan treated everyone with patience and love. Sophia assisted children with care and laughter. Soon the entire region began to call them the Healing Hearts. They had become a symbol of hope for those who had none. But every success comes with sacrifice. They faced shortages of medicine, electricity cuts, and endless work, yet they never gave up. Sometimes late at night, when the lantern light flickered, Sophia would lean against Ethan and whisper, "Do you ever regret coming back?" And he would smile, saying, "How could I regret the place that gave me everything, even you?" She would close her eyes, feeling peace, because she knew she was living not a fairy tale but a purpose. Years passed. Their clinic expanded. Donations came from people who heard their story. News channels covered their journey, calling them the couple who healed through love. Ethan's parents lived long enough to see their son become the pride of the village, and Sophia became the daughter they never had. Every day was a new chapter of service and compassion. And yet deep within both of them, the love they shared never dimmed. It grew stronger with every patient they saved, with every life they touched. One evening, as they stood outside their clinic watching the sunset over the fields, Sophia took Ethan's hand and said, "Do you remember the boy who used to dream under the stars, and the girl who believed in that dream?" Ethan smiled and replied, "They are still right here, only now they have found their home." She leaned on his shoulder as the sky turned golden, and for the first time in years, Ethan felt complete. The days in the village passed with rhythm and peace. Ethan and Sophia had become more than doctors. They were guardians of hope to the people who had once known only silence. Their clinic stood as a living symbol of dreams that could rise from dust. Children ran around calling them Dr. Uncle and Miss Sophia. Laughter filled the air, and the land that once knew struggle now bloomed with life. But fate is never still. It watches from a distance, waiting for moments when hearts must be tested beyond strength. One rainy evening, the sky turned gray and the winds howled across the open fields. The river that ran behind the village began to rise dangerously high. Ethan was treating a feverish child when a man burst through the door, shouting that the flood had broken its banks. Panic spread across the village as water began to rush into the streets. Ethan told Sophia to take shelter in the clinic, but she shook her head, saying, "These people need us more now than ever." Together they ran into the storm, their white coats soaked in mud and rain, helping people to safety, carrying children in their arms, leading the elderly toward higher ground. Their clinic turned into a shelter filled with frightened families. Ethan's heart pounded as he tried to calm everyone while the storm raged outside. Hours passed, the water rose, and the night seemed endless in the chaos. Ethan heard a cry, a young boy trapped in a nearby hut crying for help. Without hesitation, he rushed out. Sophia called after him, but he was already gone. The rain lashed against his face as he waded through the current. He found the boy clinging to a tree, terrified. Ethan lifted him onto his shoulder and began to return when suddenly the ground beneath him gave way. The current swept him off his feet, throwing him into the roaring water. Sophia saw it from afar and screamed his name, running into the flood without a thought for her own life. She reached him, clinging to his arm with all her strength. They struggled together, fighting the current, until at last a few villagers pulled them both to safety. When morning came, the storm had passed, but their clinic was half destroyed. People gathered around, thanking them for saving so many lives. Sophia sat beside Ethan, his body shivering from exhaustion. She held his face in her hands, whispering, "You saved him, Ethan, but you scared me more than ever." He smiled weakly, saying, "I could never leave you behind. Even the river knows that." And she laughed through her tears, because even in fear their love had found light again. Days later, while repairing the clinic, Ethan began to feel weak. He brushed it off, thinking it was just fatigue, but his fever grew worse, his body trembling. At night, Sophia noticed his pulse irregular. She checked his blood, and her heart sank. He had contracted an infection from the floodwater. She tried every medicine, every treatment, but his condition worsened each day. The man who had once healed so many now lay on the same bed where he had saved countless lives. Sophia refused to rest. She stayed awake by his side, whispering prayers and promises as the rain fell softly outside. Ethan looked at her, pale with weakness, and said, "Sophia, if my story ends here, promise me You will keep healing these people, promise me you will never stop. She held his hand tightly, shaking her head, saying, no, your story will not end because I will not let it end. You are my heartbeat, Ethan, and I cannot breathe without you. But destiny had its own silence. The nights turned longer. The villagers gathered outside lighting candles for the doctor who had once saved them all. Sophia barely ate, barely slept. Every moment she begged for a miracle. Then one night, as she sat holding his hand, Ethan opened his eyes, his voice faint as a whisper, and said, do you remember when we met in that classroom? You smiled at the boy who was afraid to speak. You gave me courage, Sophia. You gave me life. She leaned closer, tears streaming, saying, you gave me love, Ethan. You gave me purpose. And he smiled, that gentle smile she had fallen for, saying, then we gave each other everything. As dawn approached, his breathing grew slower, his eyes fixed on the ceiling as if watching something beyond this world. Sophia felt his grip loosen, her world shattered into pieces. She screamed his name, but no sound returned. The village mourned as if the sky itself had broken. People cried outside the clinic, holding candles for the man who had saved them, the man who had turned dust into light. Sophia sat silently beside his body, her tears dry, her soul empty, yet somewhere deep inside she felt him still whispering, live, Sophia, live for both of us. Days passed in grief. The clinic stood quiet until one morning Sophia walked outside wearing her white coat again. She opened the doors of the clinic and said to the waiting crowd, the doctor may be gone, but his dream lives on. And from that day she worked alone, tirelessly carrying on his mission. She built a new wing of the clinic in his name, the Ethan Foundation, and every patient she healed she whispered his name softly as if he still guided her hand. Years later, the village had transformed into a thriving town. Children studied in schools, hospitals stood tall, and at the center of it all was Sophia, now older yet still radiant. The people called her Mother of Mercy. She often visited the riverbank where she had once held Ethan's hand. She would stand there in silence, feeling the wind against her face, whispering, I kept my promise, Ethan, we healed the world together. And somewhere she felt the warmth of his presence in the breeze. Her life became a legend told by generations of villagers about two souls who had turned love into healing and sacrifice into eternity. Ethan and Sophia were not just names, they were symbols of what love could become when it rose above pain. The boy who once dreamed under the stars had found his place among them, and the girl who had believed in that dream kept it alive forever. And as the sun set beyond the green fields, their story continued, not in books but in the hearts of everyone who believed that love, when true, never dies. It only changes form, turning into light that guides others home. Many years had passed since Ethan's last breath had melted into the quiet air of dawn, yet his presence never truly left the land where his dreams had been born. The clinic that bore his name stood strong, its white walls bright against the green fields of the valley. People from faraway villages traveled there seeking not just medicine but hope, and every corner of that place still carried the echo of his laughter, the warmth of his touch, the kindness that had healed not only wounds but broken spirits. Sophia had grown older, her hair silver like the moon, her eyes still holding the same light that once reflected Ethan's dream. She walked through the corridors every morning, smiling at the patients as if she saw pieces of him in each face. She often sat by the window in the evenings watching the children play outside, and sometimes she whispered to herself, Ethan, you said love never ends, and I finally believe you because I see you in every sunrise, in every heartbeat. I save your spirit still walks beside me. One day a young boy came running into the clinic, breathless, carrying his little sister who had fainted. Sophia rushed to help him, and after treating the girl she asked where he was from. The boy replied proudly, I am from the same village where Dr. Ethan was born. My father always tells me his story. Sophia smiled, her heart swelling with both pride and ache. She looked at the boy and said, what is your name? He said, my name is Liam, and I want to become a doctor like him one day. That night Sophia could not sleep. She kept thinking about that young boy and the way his eyes burned with the same fire she had once seen in Ethan. It was as if the universe had begun another circle, a new beginning born from the ashes of old dreams. The next morning she called Liam's father, and offered to sponsor the boy's education. She told him, "Your son will carry forward Ethan's mission, and I will guide him just like someone once guided the boy I loved so many years ago." And so Liam began visiting the clinic every afternoon, helping with small tasks, learning from Sophia about medicine, compassion, and the art of listening more than speaking. Years rolled by and Liam grew into a young man, tall, curious, humble, and filled with determination. Sophia saw Ethan in him, not just in his dedication but in his silence. The same quiet strength that came from pain turned into purpose under her guidance. Liam excelled in school, and when he received admission to the same medical university where Ethan once studied, Sophia's eyes filled with tears. She packed his bags herself, placing a small locket inside one that held Ethan's photo from their graduation. She said to Liam, "When you wear this, remember that every patient is a heartbeat of the world. Heal them not with medicine alone, but with love." Liam hugged her, saying, "I will make you proud, Dr. Sophia." Time passed and Sophia's health began to fade, her steps slower, her voice softer, yet her heart still refused to rest. She continued working every day until one morning she collapsed while treating a patient. The nurses rushed her to her own hospital bed where she had once watched Ethan fight for life. She smiled faintly, telling them not to worry, saying, "I am just tired of years and memories." They tried to save her, but she knew her time had come. She asked for the locket she had given Liam and held it to her heart, whispering, "Ethan, my love, I am coming home." In her final dream, she found herself standing in a field of golden light where the air was warm and the sky endless. Ethan was waiting there, his white coat shining like the morning sun. He smiled and said, "I told you love never ends." She reached for his hand, and together they walked toward the horizon, their souls reunited at last. When the news of Sophia's passing spread, the entire region mourned the woman who had become their angel. The villagers held candles outside the clinic and prayed through the night. Liam returned from the city, his heart broken yet filled with purpose. He took charge of the clinic, promising to continue the legacy of Dr. Ethan and Dr. Sophia. He expanded the hospital, building new wings, introducing modern facilities and free treatment for the poor. He named it the Real Soul Medical Center, inspired by the stories of love, sacrifice, and healing that had shaped his destiny. Under his leadership, the center became famous across the country. Medical students came from cities and villages to learn not only science, but compassion. Liam always told them the story of Ethan and Sophia, two doctors who believed that love could heal even when medicine failed. He kept their portraits in the entrance hall beneath a quote that read, "Love is the heartbeat of healing." Years later, Liam stood before a crowd of graduating doctors giving a speech. He said, "There once was a poor boy who dreamed under the stars and a girl who saw that dream and believed in it. Together they changed the world. And though they are no longer here, their love lives on in every life we save today." The crowd rose to applause, and in that moment Liam felt something like a breeze brushing his shoulder, as if two unseen souls stood beside him, smiling, proud of what had become of their story. That night, as the sun dipped beyond the horizon, Liam walked to the riverbank, the same river that had once tested Ethan's courage. The water shimmered in the fading light. He whispered softly, "Dr. Ethan, Dr. Sophia, your dream lives, your story breathes in every patient, every smile." And as he stood there, he felt peace spreading through his heart, the kind of peace that comes only when love completes its circle. And so their legacy continued like an endless melody flowing through time. The boy who once rose from dust, the girl who turned love into healing, and the generation they inspired all became part of one timeless story that proved the truth that love, when born from sacrifice, becomes eternal, beyond death, beyond pain, beyond the limits of life itself. The story of Ethan and Sophia remained not just a tale of romance but a testament to the boundless power of the human soul. And in the hearts of those who believed in dreams, their names whispered forever, carried by the wind across the golden fields of home. The sun rose above the valley, touching the white roof of the Real Soul Medical Center with gold light and warmth. Years had passed since Sophia's final breath, yet her voice still echoed through the hallways. The nurses spoke of her kindness, the patients prayed in her name, and the new doctors carried her lessons in their hearts. Liam now stood as the head of the hospital, his white coat no longer new but filled with the history of dreams he had learned from both Ethan and Sophia, that medicine was not just a science but a promise to protect the fragile thread that connected every soul. He would often walk through the old corridor where Ethan had once treated his first patient, feeling that same invisible energy guiding his every step. One day a letter arrived from a global humanitarian organization inviting Liam to attend a medical conference in New York to speak about rural healthcare and love-based healing. It was the same dream Ethan once had, to show the world that even from dust hope could rise. Liam felt both nervous and proud as he boarded the plane, carrying with him a small box that held a few of Ethan and Sophia's handwritten notes. The journey across the ocean felt like destiny moving through time. When he reached the city, its towers touching the sky, he stood there remembering the boy from the village who had once fainted in his clinic, and smiled because now he was about to tell the world their story. The conference hall was filled with doctors from every nation, bright screens and voices blending like a river of innovation. When Liam took the stage, he looked at the crowd and said, "I come from a small village where dreams grew out of hunger and dust. There lived a poor boy who became a doctor, not to earn wealth, but to cure pain, and beside him a girl who turned love into medicine. Together they healed not just bodies but hearts. Their names were Ethan and Sophia, and this is their legacy." He spoke for an hour without notes, every word flowing like truth carried by love. The audience sat in silence, some with tears, others with awe. When he finished, the entire hall rose to its feet, applauding the story that had turned sorrow into light. After the conference, global media picked up the story, calling it the real soul of medicine. Donations poured in from across the world. Governments contacted Liam, offering support for expanding the Real Soul Medical Center into an international foundation. Soon volunteers arrived from different countries, doctors, nurses, and young students who wanted to serve under the philosophy that love is the first cure. Liam worked day and night, building new centers across Pakistan, India, Africa, and Latin America. Every new building carried the emblem, two intertwined hearts surrounded by a single flame, symbolizing Ethan and Sophia. But as the dream grew larger, Liam began to feel the same exhaustion that had once shadowed Ethan's days. His health weakened by sleepless nights and endless travel. He ignored it, thinking purpose was more important than rest, until one morning during a press conference, he suddenly collapsed. The world watched as the man who had become the voice of compassion fell before the cameras. He was rushed to the hospital where he had been born and treated by the very students he had once trained. As he lay there surrounded by machines and faces full of fear, Liam smiled faintly. He whispered to his assistant, "Promise me you will keep it going. Promise me the flame will never fade." She held his hand and said, "Yes, doctor, we all will." And in that moment something miraculous happened. As Liam drifted between consciousness and dream, he saw a field of light, and in that light stood Ethan and Sophia, waiting with open arms. Ethan said, "You did it, Liam. You carried the dream." Beyond the sky, Sophia smiled, saying, "Now rest, our son of the soul, for love never ends." Liam reached toward them and then opened his eyes again, alive, breathing. The doctors said it was a miracle. Months later, he recovered and returned to work with renewed purpose. He realized that his mission was no longer just about hospitals, it was about teaching humanity that empathy itself was medicine. He started an academy in New York called the Soul Care Institute, training doctors to listen before they prescribe, to heal before they diagnose. He became a global symbol of humanitarian healing, and every lecture began with the same words: "I once heard about a boy who dreamed under the stars and a girl who believed in that dream. Together they taught me that the heart is the true stethoscope of the world." Years went by, nations joined hands through his foundation, wars paused for humanitarian missions, and the philosophy of love-based medicine entered universities worldwide. Statues of Ethan and Sophia were built at the Real Soul Medical Park, their hands entwined beneath a plaque that read, "Love is the cure, time cannot erase." Generations of students placed flowers there before taking their oath to serve, and every year on the anniversary of their passing, the village lit lanterns across the river, letting them drift under the night sky like 1,000 glowing hearts floating toward eternity. As for Liam, his hair turned silver, his eyes still burning with calm fire. One evening, he stood on the hospital balcony watching the lanterns rise. He whispered, "Ethan, Sophia, the world knows your names now." Your dream became real. And from somewhere deep within the wind, he heard a soft reply, "We never left you." Liam smiled, closing his eyes, letting the breeze carry his tears, for he knew that true love never ends. It simply changes form, becoming light that travels across generations, touching lives unseen and unheard yet eternal. And so the story that began in a forgotten field with a barefoot boy and a dream reached every corner of the world. The Real Soul Foundation stood as proof that compassion could move mountains, that one act of kindness could echo through centuries, and that love, when pure, could heal not just hearts but humanity itself. And in that everlasting truth, the spirits of Ethan and Sophia continued to walk beside every healer, every patient, every life that still believed in the power of a real soul. The night sky above Hala shimmered like 1,000 unspoken prayers drifting toward heaven. Years had passed since Liam's miraculous recovery, and the Real Soul Foundation had grown into a global movement. There were now hospitals in 52 countries, all bearing the same emblem of two hearts wrapped in a single flame, their walls painted with a simple sentence, "Love heals beyond medicine." Children in war zones were being treated for free. Mothers who had lost everything found hope again, and doctors from across the world came not for salaries but for purpose. Liam, now an old man with silver hair and gentle eyes, walked slowly through the hallways of the first hospital, the same one where Ethan had once dreamed and where Sophia had smiled her last. The photographs of both of them hung near the entrance, garlanded with white roses. Liam touched their frames, whispering softly, "You were right, love is the strongest medicine in the universe." He often spent his evenings in the hospital garden, sitting under the banyan tree where Sophia used to rest during breaks. He would talk to her as if she still sat beside him. Sometimes he even heard her laughter in the wind and saw her reflection in the moonlight shimmering across the hospital glass. The world outside had changed, but not for the better. Wars continued, greed consumed nations, and technology divided hearts. Yet wherever the Real Soul name appeared, people remembered that kindness still existed. Once Liam was invited to address the United Nations World Health Summit in Geneva. As he stood before the global leaders, he spoke with calm conviction. He said, "When you treat the poor, you heal the rich. When you lift the broken, you save yourself." Medicine without empathy is just science with a pulse, but no soul. Humanity has become ill, and only love can cure it. His speech was shared across the world, translated into more than 100 languages, and taught in schools as the message of the century. After that speech, Liam retired quietly, returning to the small village where it had all begun. The villagers welcomed him with tears, calling him Baba Liam, the healer of hearts. They rebuilt the old clinic of Ethan and Sophia, turning it into a museum and learning center. Liam spent his final years teaching the village children about both medicine and mercy. Sometimes he took them to the riverbank and told stories of the two souls who once changed his life. He said they were not angels nor gods, just humans who loved beyond fear, and because of that they became eternal. One winter evening, when the air was cold and the stars burned brighter than usual, Liam felt his heart weaken. He knew his time had come. He sat at his wooden desk, writing one last letter addressed to the Real Soul family. It read, "To those who carry our flame, remember this: love is not a feeling, it is a duty. Compassion is not weakness, it is strength. Never measure your worth by wealth, But by how many lives smiled because of you. We are not separate souls, we are one heart in many bodies. Keep healing the world until pain becomes memory and kindness becomes law. He folded the letter, placed it beside Ethan and Sophia's old photograph, and closed his eyes peacefully. Within minutes his breathing slowed and stopped. A calm smile rested on his face as if he were finally going home. When news of Liam's passing reached the world, cities held vigils, candles were lit outside hospitals, and millions watched his final message broadcast on every major network. Leaders bowed their heads in silence. Children recited his words in classrooms, and for the first time in decades the world paused to feel, not just think. They called it the night of the real soul. In the days that followed, a rare comet appeared in the sky, a glowing trail crossing from east to west. Scientists called it a coincidence, but those who believed said it was the reunion of three souls: Ethan, Sophia, and Liam, traveling together beyond the stars. The comet's tail glowed in the colors of the Foundation's emblem, crimson and gold, and people across continents whispered their names in prayer. Years turned into centuries, the world evolved, cities floated in the sky, medicine became digital, and even death was studied as data. But one thing remained eternal: the real soul code. Every doctor still took the same oath before wearing the white coat. The oath began with Ethan's words: a doctor's first patient is his own soul, and ended with Liam's line: love heals beyond medicine. Universities built monuments of the three souls, their statues holding the flame that never died. In the 25th century, a young girl named Arya walked through the Real Soul Interplanetary Hospital on Mars. Yes, humanity had reached the stars, and even there they carried the same flame. Arya was a descendant of one of Liam's students. She had heard the stories of Ethan and Sophia since childhood. She often dreamed of standing in a green valley on Earth, hearing their voices calling her name. One day, she found an ancient metal box buried beneath the hospital archives. Inside were letters and photos, sealed for hundreds of years. Liam's final letter was among them. When she read his words, tears filled her eyes. That night she went out under the red sky of Mars, looked up at the distant blue dot of Earth, and whispered, "I will continue your dream." She then founded the Galactic Real Soul Initiative to bring emotional and medical care to distant colonies across space. Their motto remained the same: love is the cure across galaxies. As the new generation carried it forward, the light of the three souls became a guiding star. Travelers named it the Real Soul Constellation, three bright stars always seen together: Ethan, Sophia, and Liam, forever watching over humanity. And so the story never truly ended. It lived in every kind word, in every healed heart, in every act of mercy. Wherever pain existed, love followed it like dawn follows night. The flame that began with a boy and a girl in a forgotten village had grown beyond planets, beyond time itself, turning into an eternal light that even the universe bowed to witness. Because in the end, all creation whispered the same truth: real love never dies, it only changes form. And somewhere beyond the galaxies, three souls walked hand in hand, smiling as their light continued to shine across infinity. We are not gone, dear child of the earth and stars. We are the breath behind your courage, the whisper inside your kindness, the tear that falls when you remember love. We were once like you, fragile, afraid, uncertain. Yet it was love that made us infinite. When the world forgot to feel, we chose to heal. When the night grew cold, we became the warmth. We were born in poverty, tested by pain, broken by fate. And yet every fracture became a window through which the light of compassion shone brighter. We were Ethan, who dreamed when the world said no. We were Sophia, who believed when the heart was torn. We were Liam, who carried the flame when hope had died. Together we are one soul, the real soul, a spark within every living being that can never fade. Child of tomorrow, do not measure life in years or wealth. Measure it in hearts touched, tears wiped, and dreams awakened. Let your success be the smiles you create, not the applause you earn. For love, when shared, multiplies. when hidden withers, when sacrificed becomes immortal. If ever you find yourself in despair, look at the sky. Somewhere among those endless lights our flame still burns. Crimson for courage, gold for mercy, white for peace. It burns not to remind you of us, but to remind you of yourself. That within your chest beats the same power to heal, forgive, and rise. We no longer walk the earth, yet we live in every act of goodness. Each time you comfort a stranger, each time you choose empathy over anger, you become us again. The real soul is not a name. It is a promise that humanity will never lose its heart. Carry it forward, young dreamer. Heal the world not only with science but with soul. Teach love to the machines, compassion to the powerful, and peace to the restless. For the stars themselves were born from chaos, yet they learn to shine together. And when your time comes, do not fear the end, for love has no ending, only transformation. You will join the eternal flame, and your light will guide another. That is how the story continues, forever, endlessly, beautifully. We are not gone. We are in you. We are the real soul.